follow.
Hey everybody, welcome back. This is the History of the W, our third show. My name's Pete Garcia, and I'm the host of the show. My co-host is Bunta Kuntarath, Bunta K, as we like to call him. This is our podcast again, our third show. We have a special guest for us again today, and again, this is the History of the W here, Bunt. Right? We're the podcast where we're capturing all of Widener's rich winning history and traditions from the football program, right?
Yep, absolutely. So welcome to the show, everybody. This is our third show, and we have a special guest for you. So let me introduce myself. Bunta K. Played for Widener from '92 to '95 or '96, however which year you talk about graduation. Played wide receiver, and played with Pete and Joe, and definitely, had a great time at Weissenger, and, also part of two MAC championship teams and playoff teams. So, glad to be here on the show with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, Boone. So, just to add a little bit of what you just said there, Boonta, some of the winning traditions that we had here, and for our guest, which I'll introduce in a second, Widener's first year in football, just a reminder, everybody, 1879. This past year, the 2017 season, we've eclipsed 700 wins, which only about 35 other NCAA programs have done. We have two national championships, 1977 and 1981. And since 1975, we won 20 MAC championships, two of which Bunta and I and our special guest today have been a part of those teams. So, rolling right into it, I want to introduce our guest today, Boone. You know him very well. We've played all 4 years with this guy. You know him probably even a little better than I do, given the circumstances. But this is one of the guys that I spent 4 years on the line with. Definitely one of the nicest guys I've met, one of the most fun and funniest guys I've ever had a chance to be around. And not only that, Bunta, you know this just as well as I do. We all share a very similar taste in music. So, so without further ado, for all of our listeners out there, our very good friend, our brother, our fraternity brother, I'd like to introduce Joe Weissenger. Joe, thanks for joining us today on the show.
Hey, guys, thanks for having me on. And I was sorry, Boone, but thanks for having me on and rock on. My name's Joe Weissenger. I play with these guys for 4 years, four of the best years of my life, the 92, 3, 4, and 5 season. And, I'm looking forward to sitting here sharing some stories about the good old days.
Awesome. Well, tell us a little bit more, Joe, about your time. Like, you played from 92 to 95. You graduated, I think you graduated 96, I believe. I hope you did.
I was on the 4.5-year program.
All right, close enough. That's still 96, right?
I was 96. I'm a 96 grad, yeah. 96.0. So.
Yeah, good. So tell us a little bit more about your time at Widener playing for the team. Like, what positions you played, et cetera, et cetera. Give us some more personal information if you don't mind. Fill us in.
Sure. I had a an interesting time, way at Widener in the first place. I wasn't recruited by Widener, which is kind of a funny story. They recruited 120 guys, and I wasn't on their short list. Mine who went to school with me at Newman here in South Philly. This name will probably put a smile on your face. Michael Gallagher. Gal was being recruited by Bill Zwan and Cubitt. And I liked Widener's campus, believe it or not, for the academics. Cause I already visited there on an academic visit, and I liked the proximity that it was close to South Philly. So I told Gal, I said, do me a favor, when you're there, mention my name. So he mentioned my name, and they looked at the game tape, and then they started calling me right after that. So that's how I got, recognized by the Widener coaches. So, and then when I came to Widener, I had a pretty good career. I was one of the younger guys. I was probably the youngest guy on the team, starting at 17. And, my birthday's in January. So, but I played, I was a little undersized for the line. I got a funny story about the weight room. I was, laughing already, huh, Pete?
Yeah.
So I started out, my career came in playing guard, transitioned on the scout team for JV to center. And for varsity, I was also a tight end. And there were some games at the old Memorial Stadium that I actually had 2 numbers. and if either one of you guys knew the second number, I would give you $100 each. So, but yeah,
I'm going to guess it was in the
briefing there.
90s, Joe. It was in the 90s.
No, it was not. It was not. I was an eligible tight end number.
Okay.
Yeah, it was number 45 was the second jersey that I had to bring to games when I was a blocking tight end, and Cubitt specifically said he'll never throw to a converted lineman. So, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Like playing offense together, and I didn't even realize that, man. This is great. Like hearing about this. This is what memories is all about, man. Never knew, Joe. I totally forgot, man.
No, I never knew that. Not even one time. Not. I mean, that's very new information for me.
Yeah, that was sophomore year. Sophomore year is about 3 or 4 games that I played tight end. Obviously, specifically blocking tight end, and then then I get in there for slop time sophomore year as a center or guard or whatever they needed me, which helped me out because that transitions me in my junior and senior year where I loved our coaches, but man, they were always looking for the next big guy to drop out of a Division I school. Felt like, and so I felt like when people say to me, "What did you play in college?" I said, "I played second team." I was the left guard, left tackle, right tackle, center. Whatever they needed, I was able to do. So that was one of my advantages. So.
No, that's awesome. Like being like versatile like that. Playing in all positions. Learning the offense. But that'd be tough, right? I mean, being O-line, learning all this.
Well, I mean, I'm not blowing smoke here, but I never found that complicated. No. I know guys always talk about, like, you watch interviews, it's so hard to go from right to left. I've never found that complicated at all. It was, like, easy for me to go from one to the other, even in the middle of a game. And with all that being said, that's helped me immensely in coaching. I coach little guys now, and it's great because, I just learned. So I know a little bit, enough about each position that I can help these kids out. So yeah, I developed into a pretty decent coach, I think, and that's from my times at Weissenger.
Yeah, that's great to hear, Joe. I was one thing I always recognized. I know that you were definitely one of those people they could plug in wherever, and were successful. Again, they tried it many times with other guys, bigger guys. Maybe guys that they thought would potentially become a starter or whatever, and most of those guys never panned out. And it was a shame, but then they would fall back on you, and you felt like you were like kind of like the Joe Montana, like they'd pull the guy, they'd bench the guy, but then he'd be starting him next week. So I don't understand, why they just didn't keep you in there, but whatever reasons they had, they did. But whenever you were in there, you were successful. You were never one of those people that were hindering the team, and there were a few people that. You wish you could have thrown them away, but you definitely weren't one of those people. You were one of the reasons we were putting points up on the board for sure. So
I'm sure we're going to flesh out some of them reasons here in a few minutes with some of these stories.
Yeah, that's very possible. So who was it that contacted you from Weissenger? Which coach?
I really don't remember which coach specifically. I think I just got one of them generic letters. I never really had a talk with the coach or anything like that. I don't think I even met any of the coaches until I actually got to campus for our camp. And if I remember correctly, I don't remember. Maybe I'm sure I had a phone call with somebody. Maybe it was Dan McGreen or Sama. Probably Dan McGreen. But yeah, my first intro to our coaching staff was camp.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
that's interesting.
Did you know anybody other than Gal? Or
that's a funny question because for going to Widener, there was 3 of us from Newman that went. It was me, Gal, and Ricky Lombardo. Gal lasted a couple years. I don't think Ricky made it out of camp. Oh no, he made it halfway into freshman year, I think, for football, and he got hurt pretty bad on his shoulder. He was a good football player, but yeah, he had a pretty bad injury that sidelined him. But yeah, the 3 of us went, and then naturally, when you get to that camp and there was 120 guys, your nerves are, get the best of you. You see guys like Jeff Wilmot walking around, and you got to crap in your pants when you even look at the guy because he looked like a specimen of a Greek god, And then, but I was fortunate that there was a lot of Catholic League guys there, so we kind of bonded. We actually always have this joke to this day that it seemed like the first day we had the Catholic League and Doug. Doug McLaughlin seemed to pal around with a bunch of us in the Catholic League because he was a roommate of Jay Novotny, who was a wide receiver out of Ryan. And so when I got to camp, I gravitated to all those guys right away, which also helped with the hazing. I didn't have to do any red eyes. I'm not going to say if anybody else on the show ever did one, but I never had to do a red eye.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We actually touched up on that a little bit with OJ, some of the hazing and stuff. So it's comical. This, I don't think they do that kind of stuff really anymore. But definitely
good, because I don't. You know what? And thinking about it, like they tried all that hazing stuff with our class, and I'll never forget when Cubitt told us. He said, I have 100. I told the seniors I have 120 of them and only a handful of you, and I'll go into the game with nothing but freshmen. And I don't remember it ever happening again after that. I don't think we've never done it. I've never done that in the football setting ever. So
no, I think that was it. I think 92 was it. I don't remember ever having to do anything again at that point or after that point. So interesting.
Yeah, I don't remember at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like the first night or two of those meetings where everybody would meet down at the what was that building where the auditorium was on campus, right there by the field, right by the library. I forget the name of the building, but we would meet in that auditorium and have meetings and stuff, at camp, and then it would be all the team bonding.
It was like the alumni auditorium.
Start there.
Alumni auditorium.
Yeah. But it's funny though. With that being said, there was a lot of bonding that went on during those camps, and that was like one of the best parts of it. Some of the crazy card games with guys running to the Mac machine at Old Main to pay their debts on the AC Doocy game, or just sitting around BSing about football. Or one of my favorite memories of all is walking around that campus as a 17-year-old freshman from South Philly saying, oh, my goodness, look at all these state champions. And then I finally put it together. There was 20 of them from New Jersey, so they all couldn't have been that good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's something that you learn finally as you get out into the world a little bit.
Right.
See what happens. It's not just one or two. It's they got like 50 different divisions of football.
Yeah.
It's like that's pretty funny. Yeah, Jersey's.
And then how intimidating How intimidating, I'm sure you guys touched on this already, but how intimidating at those camps were those 110s, 16 110s? I'll never forget that in the first night.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure you maybe. I didn't fare very well. I was wheezing.
No, that I actually came in on time, under time, every time on those 16 110s. Yeah, no, I made the cut on those. I was never behind on the count. We'd have so many seconds for the linemen and linebackers to get up and back in time.
Yeah,
I forget what it was.
It was like I think you had like I forget, like 20 something
maybe 20 seconds
to run it, and then you had 40-second rest or something like that. I mean, it only took 15 minutes, but it was a hell of a 15 minutes. Yeah, that was. I mean, I know I struggled the first year because we had talked about this before. I came in. My term was woefully underprepared my freshman year, but after that I could come in shape. I mean, I knew better and to lift and everything, but those sucked. They sucked royally.
They sucked royally all 4 years. Yeah.
I mean,
but we still talk about them to this day.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, freshman year I came in very prepared for camp because I was. I didn't know what to expect, right? And then after your freshman year, you're like, you can get by with this, you can get by with that, just year after year.
Yeah, you learned a lot. Yeah, but you ran like the wind. It didn't matter. That was nothing to you, those 16 110s. So don't sit here trying to tell us how hard that was. Please. Get out of here.
He wasn't
I'll
lugging
reach this phone and smack you. Get out of here.
He wasn't lugging around the added LBs like you and I were, John. Right?
No.
And then I came in. I came in really good shape junior and senior year, and like I was really prepared for it senior year finally. And I'm running them like not even breaking a sweat, and I finished one of them like I don't know. Like 5th place or something like that for linemen. I was pretty good, and there's freshmen running, and Sam comes over to me and goes, "You should be in the first. You should be leading this." Son of a bitch. Like, just be happy I'm not even sweating, coach. Like, come on, like.
He never said that to me.
Thanks a lot. I got.
I actually came in though. I mean, I was in decent shape only because I wasn't that big. I was barely 220 pounds freshman year.
Yeah.
So, but then I got the freshman 25. So, yeah, which helped out.
I think that number's a little expanded. Isn't it?
Yeah, a little
supposed to
bit.
be to 15. It's 25 for guys.
Yeah. But I liked how I opened up that book one day on the first game, and all of a sudden I grew 4 inches. I went from being 5'11" to 6'3". That was pretty cool.
I didn't. How'd that work out for you? Because I was the same height and weight for all 4 years. They never.
So was I.
I was. By the time I was a senior, I was like 280, and I was still coming in 250 or 249 or whatever in the program. I'm like, didn't they look at me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have that problem. I think I stayed the same all 4 years.
That's from all that smoking you were doing, man.
You kept a good weight.
Oh shit, man. That's funny. So, Joe, we had touched on you a little bit in one of our earlier shows. You know, you and Bunta having been camp roommates freshman year, which we'll get into that in a minute. But I wanted to get into a story real quick about you because I'd like to roll into maybe memories of Memorial Stadium because we're a special group of guys and we got to play at both stadiums. Be the last team at Memorial, the first team at Quick. It's kind of a cool thing. I think it's pretty cool anyway. But one memory that I had brought up before, and I wanted to see if you remember this: '93 season was the last year at Memorial, and it felt like every Friday night you'd find me, and you were half in the bag, and you were going, Pete, don't get hurt tomorrow.
Really? We're going to go there with this one already? All right. Well, I'll tell you.
This is not a farce.
No, this is not. This is definitely true. Sorry, Mom. I'll tell you, it didn't happen every Friday. But there was one Friday that was so memorable.
There was only 5 home games. I mean,
right. Well, my senior year, there were a couple of road games that had happened. But I remember one time lifting a bottle of Sam as he came on bed check, and I'm like, "Good night." Yeah. But anyway, this one game was enough to put me in this category that it's been my reputation since. It was, I'll never forget this. We were hanging out in the halls, and we're heading to Kappa Sig for a party. And we get to Kappa Sig, and everybody's having a good time. And there was a kid who played defensive back. Or linebacker. He had a military haircut. Eric, I forget his last name. Oh, man, it's going to kill me. A really good guy, too. He turned out to be a Kappa Sig brother.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't think he was ROTC, but I think he had a military background. And anyway, he also used to get delivery sent to him all the time of a phone, but that's a whole other story. But anyway, so he's bartending, and he says, "Hey, Weiss," he says, you want something?" I said, "What do you got?" Because actually, all I got is whiskey. So he gave me a glass of Seagram 7. So I wound up having 3 glasses of Seagram 7, and I was hammered. And then we're walking, they carried me out of there. And then once they carried me out of the Kappa Sig and dragged me back to the halls, I'm just going to fast forward through all the BS that happened in the dorm that night because, this is a football show. So the next morning, my roommate at the time, Bob Snock, he had slept in someone else's room because I was making such a scene the night before and caused such a mess. And, I wake up and his bedspread's hanging out the window because apparently I leaned over my bed on the top bunk and vomited on it. And then, so he comes up and he's freaking out, acting like he's all mad at me. And then he just started laughing. And then he's telling me the whole story, what happened the night before. And my head's pounding. I'm still drunk. We get down to the Schwartz Center to get ready for the dress for the, well, first we went to pregame meal. And we're in pregame meal, and I'm looking at everybody eating eggs and all this nasty stuff, and I'm just getting so sick, and I'm like, this is terrible. And then I went to the back exit that nobody ever used, but it was so quiet because only the football team was in this giant building. So when I opened up the door, it echoed, and you heard, and all the splattering on the ground and everything, and I'm throwing my guts up. So then everybody takes me down to the short center, and I remember guys literally dressing me in the locker room. Like I'm sitting there like limp, and they're putting my pads in my pants and lifting me up. And then we had to take that long walk uphill to Memorial Stadium, which was brutal without being hungover. And I was pale white, and then we're doing the drills. And I'll never forget, I just went up to Pete and I said, dude, this is the day that there's no way you can come out. You just can't. Because I was specifically just the backup center at the time. And sure enough, what has happened? He gets cracked on the elbow. A pretty bad injury, right? Wasn't it, Pete?
Yeah,
you were hurt pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I went in there, and I am not kidding you guys when I tell you. I forget who we were playing, and I remember we were up pretty good, whoever we were playing.
Yeah, but
and,
we were about to score. We were on like the 7-yard line.
Yeah. But I'll never forget telling the nose guard just right out of Slapshot, the movie Slapshot. I said, if you hit me too hard, I'm going to throw up all over you. And I breathed on this guy, and he must have known I wasn't kidding. And a couple plays here and there, and then Pete comes running in, holding his elbow. Weiss, come on. And I jogged out of there, and I'll never forget my sister looking at me from the stand, and she's mouth reading me saying, you're drunk. And I'm just shaking my head, yeah. And then Cubic comes up, puts his arms around me, and I think we must have scored because he was all excited.
Yeah.
He said, didn't that just feel good to get in there and do that? And I was like breathing from the other side of my mouth, and I'm like, yeah, coach. And everybody's behind me going, don't breathe on him. Don't breathe on him, Weiss. Yeah. So that story, that game, that's what brought all, that legend, I guess you could say. Because then after every game after that, I would go to Pete, like, kidding around. Hey, don't get hurt. So, yeah.
Oh man, that's like the only. I mean, like I remember stuff at Memorial Stadium, like a play here or there, seeing homecoming, seeing Keith Dukes run that punt back, to win the game, up Sala, a few random things, but that is the most vivid memory I have, other than getting all the kitty litter in my pants and helmet and everything. That's literally like, I remember and I said, I never came off the field. Like I came, my arm was hanging off the socket. I got that friggin', when Brack hit me in the elbow with his face mask, I was in pain and I ran off the field. I had never done it. And I just knew it was, you were in rough shape, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Oh man.
Hey man, you were a trooper. Way to pull in there for a teamate.
Yeah. Hey man, you got the glory and the legend out of it, all right.
That's right. I'll take it.
Could be worse.
Yeah.
Oh man. So what about what else you have, Joe, from
Memorial, like you said, Memorial Stadium and stuff, it's just like they were like my extreme sideline days. They were the days, like literally there was one game, like you definitely don't know this. I had Sam rip me upside down because I'm on the sidelines leaning back, kicking on the wall, talking to my family as the game's going on because I know I had no shot getting in. I don't remember if that was freshman year. I think it was freshman year. So you get over here. You're in college now. Blah, 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 blah. You don't do that stuff. And I'll never forget that day because that kind of like put me in check. And then after that sophomore year, that's when I started to get more involved in the offense and Sam and talking in his ear and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't really remember much as far as the games, like you said. I mean, obviously that one story, that'll never go away. But I do remember just the thoughts of back then and how cool it was that we played at the time on the oldest active college football stadium in the country.
Right.
Yeah.
We talked about that too. Yeah.
So, yeah, and the Armory. I remember being in that you had that long walk and then you got to go in that Armory in order for halftime because they didn't have real locker rooms or nothing. So.
Yeah, I think those things, that we remember like fondly, although it kind of sucked at the time. You're sitting in a gym, on the floor or whatever, like, and you're supposed to be in this touted college, but I think that struggle, or for lack of a better word, is kind of lost on a lot of kids today, or these programs where you go into the locker room today. And I'm not trying to put it down because it's, they want to make the facilities nice, but they got couches. It's the locker room smells to high hell, but it's beautiful. I mean, and like everything's, the weight rooms and all the other stuff. It felt like when we were there, like the the locker room had a dirt floor, and we lifted boulders, and we had no shoes. I mean, it felt like, but now it's like so nice and high tech and this and that and comfy and cushy and all that. And I think sometimes those rough spots that we went through were why we were so good. We were hungry.
Well, two things I'd say about that. One, you would have wanted that too. So,
of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And then the other thing is, you got to do that stuff now because these kids today, they look on their phone and they're like, damn, my friend Bill's out there playing at St. Francis in the middle of PA, and they got this gorgeous weight room. Why don't I go there instead of here? It's a recruiting tool. Like you went to, how many schools did you visit? 4, 5, 6 maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I visited 4 schools. I only have 4 schools to compare. Now you go online, you're FaceTiming the coaches. They have active live screens of what's going on in the weight room, where you can do virtual tours and stuff. So you got to make it look pretty. So I'm not jealous of them, but you're right. We had it did forge us into tougher guys, especially when we had to walk uphill both ways to get to the Schwartz Center.
Yeah. No kidding.
That was a warm up, man.
Yeah, right. I was tired after warm-ups after that walk. What are you talking about?
They make them do that walk now. They go. There's like at home games, or not all the time, but there's some kind of or there has been some kind of like a reception of some kind behind Old Main, and they would like they'd have a tent and they'd have like fancy things going on in there, and the team would walk through there. And I don't know if they still do it, but like they call it the Pride Walk. And like if you've been on campus, they're probably worn out now, but they used to have paw prints, like painted paw prints on the ground of that walk. And they would have the team come from behind Old Main, walk down together, down to Schwartz, etc. So, and I mean, if you go, they do. I don't know if they've repainted them or anything like that, but they used to do that up until recently. So, old
gear?
No, they'd be in like nice
sweats and stuff.
And stuff. But
yeah,
they'd parade them in front of some prominent alumni and things like that. But and then they'd walk down to the Schwartz Center together. So I don't know if Coach Kelly still does that, but I know they were doing that a few years back. So
to this day, whenever I'm around like kids playing football, or whatever, and I hear the sound of cleats on asphalt, I think of that walk, that marching sound of all the it's funny. There's so many little things that remind me of football, of my days at Widener for football specifically. Number one, as soon as it's August day where it's humid and you smell fresh cut grass, boom, reminds me of football.
No doubt.
You know what I mean? And to this day, when I go to one Dunkin' Donuts and I go in their bathrooms, they use Safeguard soap. That's the soap that Schmitty used to give us. You know what I mean? And that smell, I swear to God, that smell reminds me of football camp every time I go to Dunkin' Donuts bathroom. Not that I go there all the time, but but I'm just saying, there's little things in life that pull me back to that time, and it always puts a smile on my face.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. That's cool. But it was cool playing at the old stadium. I mean, I know, like I said, one thing that I always bring up, and it still amazes me that we lived through it, was the kitty litter, man. Like getting that stuff. Yeah. I know. I mean, it would be in all over your feet, in your pants, every crevice, crack, and whatever else you had, man. It was disgusting.
Well, see, this is where I got to throw out the South Philly thing. All of our fields were like that in Philly, so it wasn't no big deal to us, especially the guys from West Catholic. Their whole field was black. It was like this black, I forget what they call it. It was like almost playing in coal. It was nasty. It wasn't even grass on their field out on Elmwood Avenue. Yeah. So we don't have the plush fields that the kids have today. We had patches of dirt with grass on the corners.
Yeah.
That wasn't that big deal to me.
Yeah, but you lived through it.
I know.
Like, I mean, right? Go ahead, Boone.
Yeah, kids these days, they don't even know what it's like to play on grass, man. They're so, attached to this like new A-turf, whatever, like they're playing. It's like, they didn't even get that opportunity to smell the dirt, play in the dirt, get dirty. It's all like everything, on a nice wet day, they're come out clean, On a wet day for us, playing at either Memorial Field or even down there, in our latest, the new field, Quick Stadium. I mean, we're covered in mud.
Plus, if we did have the joy of playing on a turf field, the turf back then was pure hell. It was like plastic sandpaper. I'll never forget, we played at Franklin Field in a JV game. They had a brand new turf down, and everybody had more burns on their legs and arms than anything. So it wasn't that much of a joy. back then. Now the turf's beautiful.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the kids you coach, I'm sure they get to play on it too, Joe. My kids play on the turf. I mean, it's just, they come home and it's like, just don't even need to do anything with their uniform. There's nothing on it, right?
Well, to be honest with you, Pete, I'm still in the city, man. We still got the Sandlot down at 3rd and Oregon for you ain't gonna want to know the name of my team, by the way. It's the Warriors, but hey, the guy who runs it's a Lycoming grad, so I can't fault him for that. But yeah. So I'm all Warrior decked out all the time. If I came to Widener wearing that stuff, all the guys are like, yo, what are you doing?
You can, at least he played ball somewhere, you know what I mean? That was a decent team, but, from nothing. But, what are you going to say? Maybe you take over and you change it to the Pioneers one day, right? Oh, man. So what about, go ahead, Boone, you got something?
Yeah, just want to. So going back to camp, Joe. I know we were roommates. I don't remember you ever sneaking out while we're sleeping. So you weren't one of those guys that snuck out of the room, were you?
No. It's funny because like that story about me with telling Pete don't get hurt and all, and my personality that I was before I got married. I was never a drug user, not an alcoholic or nothing. But I like to have a good time. I was that guy, and they say, hey, who's that guy? That was usually me. But my freshman year, I was not a drinker in college. I wasn't a drinker at all. I was lucky. I'll never forget that you get that free night in camp, and it was a big deal for me to have 3 beers. You got to remember, I was 17 years old, and I was like, never. I never did that at home. With my story at home, I have an older brother who's had problems since he was a teenager, and I've never wanted to put my parents through that again. So I never did that kind of stuff at home, and I didn't do it at college. So no, camp, I didn't sneak out. I didn't do none of that stuff. I had a girlfriend at the time too, so she lived close, so she would come over once in a while. But the most I did was maybe go sneak up in the bleachers of Old Main, just hang out. That's about the most sneaking I've ever done. But yeah, so. But no, that wasn't my personality back then. I was pretty naive too. So.
Yeah, like I said, I don't remember you ever sneaking out. I remember us bedtime. We hit I was telling Pete, we could jam out to B101, listen to Delilah, some love songs, and hit the sack. Well,
I wouldn't tell everybody that one, Boone. But, we listen to the radio. That's good enough.
Yeah. Oh, no, he went full
2 dudes in the room with P101 listening to Under the Sheets just to relax and go to bed. We don't have to tell everybody that part, that we were little soft teenagers.
Yeah.
Thanks, Boone. That's now all over the Internet. I'm going to be like that kid from Nova. Everybody's going to know my stuff. You can tell him about me getting shit-faced drunk, but please don't tell him I listen to B101 Under the Sheets with a friend of mine, to relax at a football camp, a manly football camp.
Yeah. That's right. Perfect.
I did mention I had a girlfriend, right? All right. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
It was alleged. It was an alleged girlfriend, John. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. That's funny. Oh man. What else, man? What other good camp stories you have? It could be not from freshman year. It could be anywhere. I got a few memories, but I want to see what you can come up with, pal.
Well, first thing with camp, we were talking about the 110s. I think, I was talking to Bob Snock earlier today. I was telling him I was coming on the show, and I was kind of picking his brain a little bit too. I said, I don't want to take too much of your stuff in case you ever get on the show. He's like, nah, man, it's the best part. Everybody tells you stories. And we were talking about how those 16 110s, how brutal it was and all. But I think that was how the term night train came about, because you'd have all these guys lined up, and the next day you're like, oh, where did so-and-so go? This dude's left in the middle of the night. And you're like, well, what do you mean they left? They just left? That's unbelievable. There were plenty of times where I was like, I want to quit, but I never would have left. Not like that. And then because of the night train, that developed into years later. We get together, some of the guys, we play the name game to see how many guys you can name that were on the football team that didn't make it. Because I actually wrote it down. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think out of the 120-plus guys that started, there was 13 or 14 of us that played together all 4 years, from freshman to senior year. Yeah. And that's an amazing feat. But anyway, getting back to the camp, we had great times camp. We mentioned earlier we did, all the Well, with outside of practice, the camaraderie, the meeting guys from other teams, getting to know guys from other areas. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have Facebook. You know, we didn't have ways to get to know people from the other, because you only knew where you were from. Most people only knew people, like the type of people from where you were from. So, I'm Doug McLaughlin, one of my best friends to this day, right? I called him a hick because he was from Allentown, Pennsylvania. Right outside Allentown. That's not a hick. You know what I mean? It's like nothing even close to a hick. Later on, Calvin Toll come and he showed us what a hick is. Sorry, Calvin. But you know what I mean? Like,
he'll admit it.
But here I am.
Yeah.
Oh, I know he will. That's why I had to say his name out there. But here I am, some snot-nosed kid from South Philly, thinking anybody outside the city is a hick. And I opened up my eyes and meeting all these really great guys from all over the place. I mentioned earlier before we started airing, guys from Florida coming up, Sparkman and stuff like that. It was just so neat to meet people from all over the country. And the best advantage about that, and I tell this to every kid I know, like that goes into high school or is going into college, I walked into Widener University day one of academic day with 120 plus friends. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I was scared. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't like, oh my God, look at all these people, or what do I do? I was like, yo, what's up, guys? We got practice later. Because you met all these friends, and it was great. That was the best part about it, is the relationships I forged and how it helped me mature as a young man. It was the best part of all that. But anyway, I'm getting off track. But we're talking about camp stories and stuff, and like one of my favorite stories at camp, not to be offensive, but was we would go out and, it's 95-degree days, humidity's out the door. Cuba would just say, all right, all you fat guys in the pool. And it was great. After the morning practice, you go in the ice buckets, and, it was the best. You go in there, it's sitting there forever. So here you go in the pool, and of course you got fat guys like Pete and myself and Dan doing, like, cannonballs and, swan dives in the deep end. And then there's the brothers slowly tipping their toes in the 3-foot end. And my favorite one of all is my man Antonio Johnson, who was 6'6", all 300 pounds of him, all muscle. This monster of a man, and he's in a 3 foot of water that came up to his thigh because he was so damn tall. Because he's from West Philly, never went swimming a day in his life, and he was so scared of the water. And here we are splashing around, having a great time. Yeah. And one of my other favorite memories of camp, another thing it's another great life lesson, is the intimidation factor. There were guys walking around that locker room when I'm a young kid, and I'm like, man, look at this guy. He had Cooper, Wilmot, even like OJ, Big Tyrone that supposedly was recruited by Temple. These guys had muscles everywhere, and they were fast and strong. But then we put the pads on, and some of those guys couldn't play football to save their lives. So it's not about looks, It's about you put the pads on and what you want to do. So I remember, this guy Tyrone specifically, he looked like they took the model out of the only person that had a more cut body than him was George Jones, which, hell, we all know George Jones can play like anybody else. But, this guy had it all ripped and cut. It looked like they just spray painted the muscle figure in a biology lab. And then here he put his head down, couldn't tackle, and couldn't hit. It was like, I guess I don't have too much to worry about.
Yeah.
So,
there were plenty of them guys, man. There were
plenty of them guys.
I had said it before. Like, I remember walking into camp my freshman year first time, and I hadn't met any of the coaches. I got recruited by Woody. That's the only coach I met. And then I'm walking up with like my bag, to the dorms where the old stadium was and all. And Sam was there, and he introduced himself. Oh, you're Pete Garcia. And then he took me around and introduced me to other coaches, and nobody else was getting that. And I'm like, that's strange, And then when I saw like Paul Dixon and I saw Tony Johnson, all these guys that were like 6-something, 300-something.
Pitsy.
What am I doing? Yeah. And I can give you a good story about him, but guys, I was like, what am I doing? There's no, and then I'll never play. And then we put the pads on, and I started jacking people, and I'm like, okay, this is a little different, So, we were, good sized guys. I was probably a little bigger than you, Joe, but we're similar. I was maybe 230, 235 my freshman year, but close. But, these guys were 300. But they couldn't move. You get in on them, they were done. They had nowhere to go. So,
yeah, definitely.
But
I'm not gonna name names or stuff like that, but we all know who those guys were. So,
I'm not gonna name names either, but I love it when Gallagher was playing D. Like he was like a strong safety, or like I would run like posts on him and put moves on him. It's just like I love just like his face. Like he's like when I go 1-on-1 with him, he would usually like when you're playing D back, it would be like 6 yards. Gal would be like 15 yards, because he didn't want to get beat.
yeah.
It's like, come on, dude.
Well, his famous story is he caught Dukesy from behind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's about the only thing he did.
He didn't tell you he was on the gator, right?
Yeah.
I thought the story. Did you remember when he was playing in a game one time and they used to make Schwann go up in the box, and we were at Memorial Stadium and he was out of position and Schwann screaming from the box, "Gal, move up!" And Gal looks at him and waves to the box and then moves up.
Gal was a character. He was always a character. He actually, I'll never forget this game. Is in high school, Newman. Just get off subject real quick. He hit somebody, went off to the sidelines, and he landed in all the cheerleaders. He picked up the pom-poms and started doing a cheer, and then ran back onto the field real quick. I mean, that's the kind of guy he was. Yeah. So, and he especially he had that edge about it where he especially liked hitting linemen standing around the pile. You can't do that stuff no more. But he was one of those Atwater type safeties that just came out and hit you, to make up for his lack of speed. So, but yeah. I mean, we had a ton of characters like him. We had you had on the line we had the quiet man, Jeff Bell. He was amazing to watch him practice and play and barf up his hot dogs and
I remember sophomore year because he would a couple of these people were forgotten, and then they were trying to work in some of the bigger guys sophomore year in '93, and I remember we were at Memorial Stadium and maybe we were on about our 30-yard line or whatever, and he comes trotting in like on second down, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And I'm starting center, and I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he just shrugs and he goes, "Sam told me to come in." And the guy, and he just says, "Sam told me to come in." I'm like, "All right." And the guy started the rest of his career. Once he got a shot to go on the field, he never let go. And he was solid. He had great technique, and he just but he was one of those guys that if he lifted one more weight, he would have been really awesome for all the time. But he ended up being, he's a fucking Wall of Famer. I mean, he's All-American and everything and all that stuff. So he got all the accolades in '95. But it was just just comical when he came in. He just shrugged at me. He's like, "Told me to come in." I'm like, okay.
But that smile, that grin of his, where his eyes are completely shut when he smiles at you.
Oh man, but yeah, it was just that's interesting, man. That's good stuff. But I did have one, and I don't remember if it was camp, Joe, or it was during the season. But my one other favorite story. I have two favorite stories of you from our time together, and then one not related to football altogether, which I think kind of sums up who you are. But maybe I'll bring it up at the end. I remember watching film with you one day.
Oh God. Are you going to talk about the video?
You want to take over here on this one, or you want?
Are we talking about the video?
Of course, we're talking about the video that you.
So, all right. So.
Now before you go anywhere, did you have this story written down? Did you come up with
No, but this is one of my favorites, so I don't need to write this one down. So leading up to this, by the time I became a senior, I became I feel like Coach Sam's right-hand man. I was like a coach in his ear. I would tell him, hey, so-and-so playing guard's getting beat on his left side. And he knew whenever I was giving him feedback, it was never to throw a guy under the bus. Like I was, a real team player. If I wasn't in the game, I was in his ear and vice versa. And I had a great relationship with Sam as far as, like, when he wrote us that letter. You remember that letter he gave all the seniors? All the linemen?
I have it, Joe. It's on the Widener Football Facebook page. I put it on.
Oh, okay.
I have it.
Yeah, and he makes fun of my running style, my choo-choo Charlie running style, and the quick one-liners and stuff.
Yeah, he told me I was going to not wrestle for the West Wrestling Championship and all that stuff because I hurt my shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but what I'm getting at, like, even in that letter, like, I had this great, like, joking relationship with him. So every meeting we'd have in Quick Stadium, like our junior and senior year than anything, but I would always draw something, not PC on the board, like some chick, getting it from Nick and saying, "Oh boy, Nick, give it to me," or something like that. And he'd come in, whatever. Even on a bad day, he'd see that, he'd just start laughing. He'd go, "Weissenger," whatever. All right, man, come on, wipe that off, So, but the one day, there's nothing on the board. No big deal. He's like, "All right, man, put the tape on." And I forget whose job it was, but you'd have to have the tape ready for him to go and hit play. And you turn the lights out, and the videotape would project onto the wall. Well, all of a sudden, the lights are off, tape comes on, and there's a guy, and I'm doing this right now as we're talking, standing up with both his hands behind his head like in a full Nelson position, swinging his hips buck naked, with a bird down to his knee, swinging around like a stick, and everybody just lost it. And he screamed, "Weissenger!" And I went, "It wasn't me." And he's like, "Yeah, it was." And I was like, "All right, it was me." And everybody just started dying laughing. It was so funny. And what it was is, and this was not mine, I swear to you it was not mine. Somebody in the dorms, they had a stack of tapes that they threw in a collective box the guys would take. And then this tape was the instructional video on how to use the penis pump. And it was somebody's schlong after they just got done pumping it up, and it was like literally 1.5 feet long.
Oh my God!
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was so funny. I think I don't even remember I don't know if we had the meeting. Like we laughed so hard.
Yeah. We used to have great meetings, man. Just the ball breaking and stuff like that. I mean, yeah, you get ripped on.
Yeah.
Look at you here. You missed this step. You didn't step right. But we had good times. Great times in the meetings.
Watching the film and stuff like that. I mean, just picking on each other. And I remember there was a couple of times where, we would be watching the film, and I'm trying to think here. We were watching a game. It was at Memorial in '93. Remember when they moved Damian Prescott to offensive line? Remember Dap Zeus?
Yeah.
And remember he was a giant dude. And we're watching a game tape, and they had it from the end zone, like from the high reach, and they show everybody blocking, and we had thrown an interception. And then they fast forward it through everyone running down the field making the tackle. And I'm like, Coach, back that up, right? And I want to see what happened on this play because I knew what I did during the play. And they back it up, and then they watch it, and I run down the field, and the guy comes up to try to block me. And I swung with my right hand. I hit this guy with my forearm, like not with my inside of my forearm, on the side of the head, like a side clothesline. I thought I killed the guy. I hit him. He flipped over everything, right? And I just kept going over top of him. And Damian Prescott, Zeus, goes, "God damn, Garcia, you fucked that guy up." Like,
hey, it's the show's first F-bomb.
But it was like that kind of stuff where you knew you did something in the game. You wanted to see if it popped in the film, and they they were always good with that, and they always had a minute for that kind of stuff, which is fun as hell. But I used to like watching them game tapes or the practice tapes of inside period, and especially when we were inside the gymnasium, inside the athletic center, and you'd see me come up there, play let's say center. And there would be like a couple of sweat drops on the floor. By the end of the practice, it was a freaking puddle because I used to sweat like a goddamn, like a whore in church. It was ridiculous and stuff. And just, and of course all the ball breaking stuff. But you want to go back to a fun story, all subject of game film. You go back to what you did to that guy. One thing you guys didn't experience that I experienced at Widener was playing JV. You guys, Boone, you played all 4 years varsity, right? Just varsity?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
me too, Joe.
yeah, and I know Pete, you did,
Yeah.
right? So, but I was fortunate, and I was fortunate enough that I got to play because the varsity I get in special teams and a couple plays here and there, freshman sophomore year, but I got to play a lot of JV. And one JV game I'll never forget, we're playing Princeton, and the JV there was no practice, no nothing. It was a scout team against another scout team essentially. So except for teams like Williamson, where that was like their big game to play at college and stuff, and we always got crushed no matter who we played because we always played above. We never played really many Division III schools. But we're playing Princeton at Princeton, and it was like a rainy October day. It was cold and all. And we're actually doing pretty good. We're beating them up. And then, even though they're an Ivy League school, they're still Division I. They got some talent on that team. And then all of a sudden, it was halftime, and I guess all the labs were let out or something, because then all the good guys must have came. Because then they started smoking us in the third quarter. So I forget who it was. Somebody threw an interception or something down the sidelines. Or no, they completed a big pass down their sidelines. And the receiver on our sidelines jogging down the field taunting. And one of the backup quarterbacks, who'll be nameless, who's South Philly guy, sitting there with his helmet. And when the kid ain't looking, he turned around and clocked this kid walking down. The quarterback on our team's on the sidelines. And he clocked this kid with his helmet, knocked him out cold, and just kept walking like it was nothing. And everybody just looked around like nothing ever happened. Yeah, so I just had to throw that one in there. When you thought about hitting that guy, it just reminded me of that. So, yeah, that's a little off subject. Sorry. So.
Well, a lot of that stuff happened, back, the game's different today, and there was a lot of stuff that you could get away with or, that weren't going to get called on, especially inside the line. I mean, Boone, you might not know about some of these things. Maybe you did some stuff on outside with the receivers and the DBs and stuff. But inside the line, man, it was pure violence. I mean, I remember grabbing people by the face, under their face mask, and squeezing them in their eyes and stuff, and just, but like not like in the pile. Like that's how I was blocking the guy. Like,
part of my game, like we go back to me, right? Part of my game was that we all know I wasn't the strongest guy on the team. I hated the weight room. I walked in, I said, "Hey, coach," walked around, said hello to everybody, made a couple jokes, and I walked right out. For some reason, just never gravitated towards. Probably my biggest downfall. But anyway, I wasn't going to be in the NFL, so it wasn't the end of the world. But part of my edge was I was pretty much a smart but yet dirty player. Like my idol was Ron Heller. I don't know if you remember Ron Heller from back in the Eagles, back in the 80s and stuff. Yeah. He would taunt, get cracked in the face, and then fall down, and a flag would be thrown out at him. So I would be in there line punching guys in the face, spitting on them, saying dirty things about their mother and stuff like that under my breath so the referee couldn't hear. And then they would hit me or they would get out of position, and then, that was help me some of my advantages and stuff. So, yeah, there was a lot of nasty stuff going on, but they were fun stuff, The stuff that I'm probably not proud of doing, but I am proud of doing. I'll never forget, you were part of this. No, it was when you got hurt. Was it junior year you got hurt pretty good for a few weeks?
Yeah.
You broke your wrist?
No, I hurt my knee.
Your knee.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, we were playing like Kings or maybe Albright or somebody. We were just crushing them. Like one of them games where, Vic and Boone were connecting like crazy. And me and House were literally telling the defensive lineman where the ball's coming. We're like, hey, man, we're going to run 7 draw. It's coming right here. Number 4 is going to run it right here, right up your butt. And then they would make their calls. And it was like Hawk was their call. Me and House are going, Hawk, Hawk, and like making fun of their calls and stuff. And they were some of the greatest things ever. Like some of the talk on the inside of the line. Or my other favorites playing Lycoming. My roommate, Bob Snock, his best friend growing up was Anthony Coletti. He was a really good defensive lineman for Lycoming. And he played all 4 years there. I think he started all 4 years too. But when I was, and I got to know Anthony through the years playing against or being a friend socially through Snock. And I played against him in one of our games against Lycoming, and Anthony Gossett ran a sweep there, an option to the outside, and me and Coletti are running down the field together, and he whispers in my ear, goes, he's going in. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's a touchdown. Like just some of the banter we go back and forth with some of those guys. It's just a lot of fun. And it's great because I hear, like when I like that's the stuff I love when I listen to radio shows like the Meat Locker on 97.5, you know, and listen to Brian Baldinger talk about the insides of the NFL. Because yeah, these guys are far beyond better than me athletically, but they still did the same stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's one of the beauties of Division III football. We weren't the most athletic. Like Booth was faster than most guys in the NFL, but he had an extreme height disadvantage. You know what I mean? You know, Pete. I mean, Pete, you had balls of steel. You were a strong guy, but Christ, man, you were barely 6 foot.
Yeah.
You know, you weren't sniffing the NFL.
Not
but
even
when
close.
you got, but when you got in that on the line, you were doing the same damn things they were. Of course, it was a little slower. But you know, in a little bit different
Okay,
game, but it was
speak for
still
yourself.
football, and it was still.
Speak for yourself.
No, I mean, you know, please, the speed of the NFL is a lot different
sure,
than
no
Division
doubt.
III football. We can definitely see that, you know.
Yeah.
You guys got like Bloom running around, you know. But anyway.
But yeah, Joe, go back to the Kings game thing. I'll give you a couple things about that because that was a game that I actually was in. That was a 90. Well, and maybe you did it in '94 when we played up at. No, we didn't play. We played up at Kings one time in '93, and then '94, '95 we played them at Quick. But in '95 we were destroying them. I mean, it was like 60 something and 8 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in that game, and the linebacker was saying hog, but it was like hog, like it was like.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. That was then I was playing guard. Then it was me, you, and House.
And he kept doing it, and then you made fun of him.
Yeah.
And everyone laughed. Their linebackers, we were all laughing, and then I said, and I turned to you before the ball was snapped, and I said, "You're such a dick." Like, and everyone's, and I don't even think we were able to really pull the play off, but like, you know, that was the kind of stuff that, you know, went on. You know, it was I mean, my own personality, I could not joke out there. I was very serious, you know, I just didn't have that. I probably didn't enjoy it as much as maybe I could have, or maybe it sounds like some of the other guys did, but that was definitely one time where I was chuckling, really laughed, because to hear that guy, I mean, it was like he was going through puberty. Like,
yeah, yeah, that was it. But then you're right. You know what? You're right. That is something that I took into every game, man. I had like a joking sense with every play. You know, like I would help guys up when I would knock them down. I say, hey man, you did a great job. Let me help you up there. You know, like I would talk smack, but yet I would laugh with guys and make jokes, or if we threw a bomb, I would say to the defensive lineman, yeah, that's a touchdown. Don't even bother hitting no more. We're done. You know, stuff like that. So, you know, that was some of the inside stuff. I had a story from high school where I had tortured a kid so bad, he really wanted to come at me pretty bad. He wound up in jail for
they had a guy right on his head that was a big guy, you know, like kind of a muscular guy, but he wasn't like a real heavy dude. But he painted his face like, you know, like all that black stuff all over his face, not just 2 lines. You know, it was like these big diamonds under his eyes and all this stuff. And he's yapping at Jeff we got the ball right away and went right down the field, and we were inside the 10. And he's telling, hey, Bell, he's making fun of his stance. And Jeff isn't saying a word, nothing. Just plowing the guy, just mushing this guy, and we get about maybe to the 5-yard line, and I'm like, "Are you going to say anything?" And he's like, "About what?" And I said, "Do you want to call a double team or anything?" He's like, I don't. This guy sucks. Don't worry about it. So we go up to the line, and I'm looking and checking everything, and the guy's saying something again, and Jeff just goes, "Hey, Ultimate Warrior, I'm going to drive you through the goalpost." And I look at him, I go, "Did you want to call a double team?" He's like, "No." All right. And he did. He drove him all the way to the back of the end zone, and we scored.
Yeah.
And that was the only time I ever remember him saying anything. The entire
Yeah,
3
cog.
Oh man.
All jokes aside, all funny stories, but we had such a cool, dynamic team with a great core of guys.
Yeah.
Like, we had so many different personalities, but athletically, man, you know what's great, though, especially playing offensive line? Our running backs made us look so good. I mean, we had some serious talent back there. You know what I mean? You had George Jones, you had Gossett, Robson. I never forget. I was so shocked when I came to Widener. Like, just get in the way and open up holes. That's it. You don't have to drive them down the field. Just open up holes. And these guys did all the work. So they made us look great.
Oh, big time.
So,
yeah. No doubt. I will give them credit
throwing
all day.
the ball downfield, to Boone. Boom, he's 45 yards downfield, like a little number one lightning bolt shooting down there, wide open because nobody could cover him.
I remember there was a game, maybe it was our junior year, Joe, and we I don't know if we were struggling or something was going on, and not to give those guys all the credit. Let's take some credit for ourselves, but we were Cubitt was all over Vic about something, and he said to him, "When was the last time you were sacked?" And Vic said, "I don't remember." And he says, "Yeah, get out there and remember that." We were doing a pretty good damn job, when was the last time you were sacked? Yeah, I thought so. Get your ass back out there and throw the ball.
What an interesting guy he was, Cubitt. I'll never forget. Here's a great Cubitt story for you. It was one practice. I don't remember if it was junior year or what, but junior, senior, something like that. And I'm out there playing center. I don't know if we were doing inside period, whatever it was. But I remember it wasn't Dan. Maybe it was Dan. He was like a 3 technique, and I was playing center, and I had to reach him, and it was just so hard to cross his face because Dan was a pretty good player. And he just made me look pretty bad, or I took a bad step or whatever. And I'll never forget. Cubitt said to me, "Weissenger, you're nothing but a goddamn pussy." And I freaked out, and I started mouthing off to him, "F you, who you calling a pussy? You go fuck yourself, blah 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 blah." And Sammy came over and grabbed me, and I'm screaming, "He go fuck himself!" And saying all the expletives and shit like that. And I'll never forget that. I was so mad at him because he would drop that. I mean, he was hardcore Cubitt, Move it up 10 yards. Guys sitting there with a leg pointed the wrong direction. Just move it up 10 yards. And then that afternoon, though, after practice, after he calmed down, I went up to his office, and I like my parents raised me to do, I went and apologized to him because it was wrong for me to say that to him. And he was really cool about it. He had his rough ways, but man, he was actually a pretty decent guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have our opinions. I think, I felt like, and then we touched on this in the previous show when we talked to O.J. McElroy, but I felt like slighted at the end of our 4 years.
Nothing annoys me more when you think back at that than the Sama firing. That was horrible. Remember that?
No.
Yeah, where you were with huh?
No, I don't remember that. Remind us.
After our 4 years, Sama got fired, right? No. No, it was it after? It was the year after we left. I think he got fired.
I think so.
Yeah, then a few of us went to visit him and talk to him about it or something like that. It's kind of like this. Or we met up for a beer or something like that. So, but anyway, he was a little rough around the edges. No, you're right. He would definitely. There was no loyalty there. If he brought a guy in that bigger and better than he was taking him because his objective was to get to D1. So he won on that one
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But we had some great, other coaches though. We had some great coaches, like that. I to this day I love Bill Zwan. One of the fortunate things of playing scout team, I got to build a great relationship with our defensive coaches on top of our offensive coaches. I gave it everything I got when I played scout team for Swan and Woody and stuff. And this is back when Woody was just an assistant. He'd come running over with the card, showing you where to block, because you're running the other team's offense. And that's how I learned how to center. When they first center, Coach Taylor would give me he would give me a Nerf ball, and I'd throw the Nerf ball back at him instead of giving it to the quarterback, so I didn't break his hand. That's how I learned how to center. And then I'll never forget one practice. Woody comes up to me. He's like, "All those sons of bitches are doing, they're crying about holding. Every game, I'll be in held. He goes, "Weissenger, I want you to get in the pitsy, and I want you to grab his jersey, and I want you to hold him for dear life, and then don't let him go. screw him. You hold him. So I ran out there and I cut off Pitsy and I grabbed my arms and I wrapped it in his jersey and I'm yanking on him and pulling him down and pulling. And he's beating me with his big forearms. Get off me, man. What you doing, man? Get boom, boom. I'm like, Woody made me do it. Woody made me do it.
That dude was an intimidating guy.
That guy had muscles popping off the back of his neck.
That was an intimidating. I mean, just to see that guy. I mean, you could barely fit a piece of paper between his nose and a face mask. I mean, he filled up a helmet. But I mean, one thing I remember about him, they put me in freshman. They worked me in the first team, and I see him, playing middle linebacker, and I'm like, man, I got to lay the wood on this guy. And I remember snapping the ball, working my way up, and I mean, man, I threw everything. I put my arms back and then charged it at him, and he hit me under the chin with a forearm, like a European uppercut, man. Boom! Yeah. And I was like, what was that? I mean, that was probably my first concussion that I didn't realize I had. Yeah. But I mean, he socked me, man. Like, I'm not doing that again. And Sam is like, he's just like holding his hands up, going, "Why didn't you cut him?" I'm like, I don't know. I thought I could take him out, Just cut the guy,
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny.
So whatever happened to Pitsy? You guys know? Was he a year ahead of us, or he just that was it?
Yeah,
that was it.
I mean,
I don't know much about. I don't really much about many of those guys that were above us. The only one I ever really keep in touch with at all is Big Jim. But
yeah,
right. But there weren't many of them.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while I talk to Brack and trying to think of some of the other guys that maybe were a little.
I see the McHenry brothers once in a while down the shore.
Those guys, we see those guys at games every once in a while. I see. Talk to like Freddie Messler and I'm trying to think maybe even older than that, but like Paul Dixon. Talk to Paul Dixon, on Facebook and stuff a few times. I mean, he comes and joins the brother. Stuff, he pays attention there, but from freshman year, those guys, I don't really remember, recall anybody, staying in touch or anything like that. So,
well, I'm not going to say a name, but I'll tell you a story that's going to bring the name right up in your head.
Yeah.
There was one guy older than us who bragged in the locker room about how he bought his girlfriend a sex toy so she can apply it to him while he does it to her. Yeah. We know who that guy was. He's one of them older guys.
He was a good player.
He was one of the man love guys that had to get out of there. Oh yeah, he was a really good player.
Yeah. Had a clean house on the era before Cubit, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a trip, man. That is. Again, you touch on it, man, and Ubuntu, I'm sure you could chime in here too, but it's the sheer personalities that you come in contact with, and I say it, and this is one thing I do say often, like, I can't believe those guys fed their families off of morons like us, but they did it, and we all came out better on the back end because it's a team.
Yeah.
It's a team, and it's a brotherhood, and everybody did, for the most part, not 100%, but for the most part, looked out for each other and stuck together. And there's a reason. The basically the 10% that came in when we came in '92 that graduated, because it was 90% of the other people. Well, 90% of the other people didn't stay on the team. There were probably a few guys that stayed and graduated.
Well, there were a few guys that stayed in school.
But the 90% that stuck around and did it all, were better off for it. So, or the 10%. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it's just the personalities are something else, man.
I mean.
Go ahead, Boot.
I mean, coming into camp, just like Joe, a lot of it was just, being intimidated, right? But like once you get to know, like that freshman class, I mean, we gelled. I mean, you could just tell like how our program, how we progress, year over year. That's just kind of like how we build our relationships, man, with our teammates, and how, great friends we became, with each other, So like, I couldn't look. I mean, every time I look back, I wish I wish I had one more day, man. I wish I had like one more day, just, it sucks, like it's just so many memories, but at the same time, like that's why they call memories. I mean, it's so great, man, being part of that.
Yeah, and I'm sure you both of you guys can both say that those memories forged the man that you became. You know what I mean? It's like some of those stupid things that you done in college, and which for us all revolved around football because they were our core friends. But those people and those coaches made us the men we are today, and a lot of us came out pretty good from that. So, it's a great experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know that one of the topics that gets brought up is the whole like concussion stuff, Joe. I mean, it's obviously a big topic in sports in general. Football is a big target to that, but my argument, I guess, against it is that I think I've learned and gained so much more from being a football player and being on a team than I'd ever maybe lose by the possibility of those injuries. Whether they be the concussion things or any other kind of injury. But what I can confidently say, I've gained so much more in my life, and for the remainder of my life because of what we've done or what we did, versus maybe what I could potentially lose. So I mean, that's how I choose to look at it, and everyone looks at it differently. But that's my argument.
Well, I coach youth football, and it's an issue all the time, and you can't sell a parent on not injuring their kid. I mean, it's hard. Yeah. It's very tough to do. But like you just said, there's everything in life, there's dangers in everything, right? Like, I have a nephew who plays every sport there is. He's having more concussions playing baseball than he has playing football.
Yeah.
So, it happens. But but it's a different sport. It's the most team-oriented sport of all of them. It takes 11 guys to do one thing right to make a play successful. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Whereas basketball, the 4 guys just sit on the sideline and watch the best guy on the team dribble through everybody and dunk it. You know what I mean? You can't do that in a normal football game. So, and I know for a fact that there's things happening to me now that probably result from concussions. I mean, heck, there was a JV game at University of Penn that I lost my peripheral vision. I got a optical migraine and a concussion from it. So, that happened. But no, would I go back and change it? Probably not. So no, I totally agree with you. Football has forged me into the man that I've become, and I have no regrets when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Boone? Do you have any additional thoughts on that, or?
I mean, like we talked about last time, right? I mean, it's if you're talking about the concussion thing, like I said, like, it's up to the preference, of the parent. Like, for me, it's just more so like developing my kids where they're not really developed yet for them to play, like, with pads. So as far as like, the concussion thing, like, I think you play smart, you have the education around it and just having like the right coaches. I think you'll be all right, but more so for me, it's just more like, when they're ready, they'll play. It's just a matter of getting them ready to that point.
Well, I will say this because I know from experience, but most good football programs anymore, they're heading towards the way what's called heads-up football, where the tackling it's not like it used to be. It's chest to chest, twists to bring a man down. If you watch, like the Seattle Seahawks have been implementing this for years to keep their players healthier. And they'll tackle, and it's so interesting. It's nothing like you were taught. We all played defense somewhere in our careers, but you were taught get your head across the body, stop a man from the direction. It's not like that anymore. It's chest to chest, and you spin your body in a way opposite of their momentum to pull them down, and that's relieving some of the context. And when you get into youth sports, one thing I will say about youth sports, the percentages of players that actually make serious head-to-head contact is so low. Nobody uses the big fullback too many times going up the middle. The linemen, I mean, really, those kids aren't hitting that hard. Even when they're going up the linebacker, they're just pushing around. I mean, yeah, some running backs might leave with their head and they get hit with their head once in a while, and linebackers here and there. But generally, that stuff really starts happening in high school, I would think. I mean, yeah, there have been concussions in youth football. I'm not saying it never happens, but it's not as much. It's definitely not as prevalent as it is in like the college game and stuff. But they're starting to teach at that level where while these guys get up there, it's going to start changing. I mean, we're seeing it in the NFL. It's turning into, we joke, it's turning into flag football. But it's what they got to do in order to survive. They got to evolve. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So I just, one, final point, Joe, unless you had anything else you wanted to, any other stories?
Well, I got one other trivia question for you guys. All right. Under Bill Cubitt's tenure, the first player to get known as a two-way player, I think, was George Jones. All right, because he switched to D-back, for a little while there. But who was the real first-time two-way player? I believe it was me and Quinny, because they would never forget this story. It was a JV game, right? I forget who we were playing, and like I said, I had a good relationship with the defensive coaches, and Swan was the head coach of the JV teams. And I was in his ear like, come on, coach, let me play defense. Let me play defense. Let me play defense. Let me play defense. And finally he said, all right, one series. So I got a series in JV, right? Whoopie-do. Senior year, or was it junior? Senior year, I think it was. One of those games we were up 700-0, where we were just rolling whoever it was in front of us. I was in his ear. You got to put me on defense, coach. You got to put me in defense. And he put me and Quinny in on defense. And the good news is I caused the fumble. The bad news is it was only one play that I was allowed in on defense because we recovered the fumble. So that was my claim to fame of being a two-way player. Yeah. And I was the second scout team player of the week under Cubitt's administration. And the first being Bob Snock. But
see, there you go, Boone. There's some of the things that we just, that we didn't get to see. I didn't get to see the JV stuff. You didn't get to see the JV stuff. You didn't get to see what was going on with the scout team stuff. Joe, all the years that we played together, we played offensive line and all that stuff. I didn't know you had that kind of role with Sama.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I did not know that. I mean, I would come off the field and they would ask some questions, but I didn't know while we were on the field, if you weren't there, for whatever reason, he would tell
guys, hey, first objective, win the game, right? He'd give us our list, win all that stuff, and he would tell guys on the sidelines, he'd have his headpiece on. He said, all right, man, he says, I want you to watch your positions, and and talk and tell me what's going on. And over half the guys, because especially a home game, there's 20 offensive linemen standing around twiddling their thumbs. But you would have guys like myself. I'm sure there's one or two others that would be in his ear. Like I know Emmett Dempsey did a lot too. Yeah. He would talk to him and tell him some strategies, and there was a few of us where he would be able to go to or get information from. I'm not saying everything I said was right, but he knew whatever I was giving him feedback, it wasn't because I was trying to throw somebody under the bus to get in the game. It's because I was legitimately wanting to help the team. And that was a fun part, and that's what helped me develop into coaching. He even mentioned that to me years ago. He said, you'll never be an NFL player, Joe. He goes, but you're going to make a good coach someday. So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's not a surprise, but it's a bit of information that we're trying to capture here. We're trying to get those stories that, I mean, I feel, and maybe you can agree with me here or not, but that even though I played, I missed out on a whole shitload of stuff, cool things, neat info, and all these other things. And like what? I had no idea. I had no idea.
You could do a whole show on JV football. I mean, the shenanigans that went on in JV football. It was just so. All it was a scout game. There was nothing important about it whatsoever. So it's like, Swan wanted to get his looks in to see what defense did against this offense and so forth, and they wanted to get some players reps. But there were fights in the huddles, fights on the field, playing. We're playing Lackawanna Junior College. These guys are trying to get into Penn State and schools like Pitt and stuff, and they're beating the hell out of us. Fights with fans. Now one guy is screaming at Bobby Snock the whole game. Come on, put 40 in. He sucks. And poor Bobby's going off on him on the sideline. Screw you, buddy. I'll come in the stands and kick your ass and all this stuff. And the times we're taking the bus, and I'll never forget this. Woody's driving the van behind the bus, and he missed the turn on the turnpike, and he drives off-road with one of those 15-passenger vans with all of us bouncing around so he can get back on the right part of the turnpike where it splits up there by 476. I mean, the other time we stop at a gas station, and, we're in the van, and guys, are like robbing sodas out of the cases of soda out of the gas station when the guy's being distracted by, whatever. So there's a lot of shenanigans went on. So if you're ever interested, you could definitely get a couple of the guys that played a lot of JV and have a JV show. Because, there's definitely some crazy stories.
That's a good one. That's a great idea, Joe. I think Boonta and I, we might get you to lead the charge on that. So we rally up some troops. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Got to get some former JV players out, get the stories there. Definitely.
There's enough guys. There's plenty of us. I don't know how many of them lasted. Maybe me and good old Kevin McGee can get together one day and take care of that.
Yeah. Do you see him? You talk to him at all ever?
No, but I was just thinking about him because I was thinking about the guys that made it to the end. Like here, I'm going to go through my list, see if I got everybody. Ready? You got you, Dan Adamski, Boone, obviously, Vic Amy, Bob Snock, Doug McLaughlin, myself, Jeff Bell, Kevin McGee, George Jones, Anthony Gossett, Brian Hamill, and Blaze. And I'm not sure if Quinny played all 4 years or not. And I think Antonio Johnson, I don't think he came in with us.
No,
he ended with us.
But yeah, Quinny
he
played all 4 years too. So
he played all 4 years too, yeah. So, I think I don't think there was any other guys in our senior class out of the 120 plus that made it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I shouldn't say made it, finished out. So.
Yeah.
So, Cuba was really worried about academics.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, let me tell you a story real quick to tell you so about the time I almost quit. So it was sophomore year, coming into sophomore year, my grades weren't up to par. I had to take a class in community college, Spanish class. So the class, the last couple days of the class were the third week of August. It was like the last two classes and a final. So I called Cuba up the week before. I'm like, hey, Coach, it's Joe Weissenger. I'm going to be late for camp because I got to finish my final. I'm not going to be able to make it. He goes, oh, you're going to make it. You better show up here. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, Coach, I can't. He goes, well, then I guess you're not playing. I said, well, I guess I ain't playing. And I hung up on him. And then and I thought about it, like, damn, what am I doing? I don't want to quit football. And then I called him back, and I apologized to him again, and then he worked me. He had me come in, and then there was a couple afternoon practices that I would miss because I had to take the train into Center City to go finish this class and come back. So, yeah.
Yeah,
but yeah, grades weren't.
They're sensible, like
I got my 2.1 in order to play sophomore year.
Those guys were sensible. I mean, after a while, Joe, they know you're gonna stick around. You're probably gonna graduate. They're gonna work with you. I mean, how many guys?
Yeah.
Boone. I don't know if you were one of those guys, but like they would purposely schedule their whatever engineering labs at 2-3 o'clock, or you know what I mean, so they can miss some practice, and and the only guys that would get the go ahead for that were Brack, Dave Braxeter, because he was getting 4.0 anyway, but
there's another great show idea one day. You get a couple guys on, a couple of the guys from that list I just gave you, and see if you can go down the name of all those 120 guys that came in. You'll come up with some names like Jan, who ran a 4.40. The Vietnamese kid from North Philly. Yeah.
Oh man.
Or forget another kid. He was about as round as you are and 5'5", and he played wide receiver. I forget his name. We had some. We definitely had some guys that looked like Tony Luke in the movie.
I remember him. He was from Delaware. That kid.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. You ever see that movie Invincible, and the scene where Tony Luke's got the cape and he's trying out for the Eagles? Yeah, we had a few guys like that on our team too, and they didn't cut anybody. So we had some body bags, I guess you can say. So yeah.
Oh man, classic stuff, man. Classic stuff, Joe. It's been fun talking to you, man.
hey, Pete. Before we wrap this up, I was wondering if you don't mind if I get a plug in real quick.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Yeah. So, because like you guys know, but I don't know if everybody knows this, but right now I got some struggles going on. Where I need a type O kidney transplant. So if anybody hearing the show and they want to look into it and see if they can help me out, they know somebody might be able to help me out, because right now I'm out of work and I'm on dialysis 5 days a week, and I need a transplant. They can go on to Facebook and look up Joe Weissenger needs a kidney, or just hashtag kidney4Joe, or go to www.kidney4joe.com. Again, that's the number 4. So, we can just share that at least, share my story around. The more people that know, find out somehow, some way it may happen. Like I actually had one girl reach out to me already that was friends on Facebook with OJ, and OJ shared my story, and she heard it, and she reached out and said she was interested. Nothing's happened to date, but they don't really tell me anything. But trying to get as many people out there to know about it, and so I can get moving on in my life.
Absolutely,
absolutely, bro.
Not a problem, bro. When we get this all posted up, we'll certainly link all your sites and everything, and tell as many people as possible, and make sure we continue to remind people as well. Have anything to help you out, man. Whatever we could do. And
great, thanks a lot.
Yeah, man. Just and just one last point that I wanted to make about you is one thing that is stuck into my mind most vividly, Joe, about you and the kind of person that you are and were and are is a story. Maybe you don't remember this. I don't know. Maybe Bunta, I don't know if you ever heard this, but when we're all fraternity brothers, but Bunta and I pledged together, but you pledged maybe a year or two after we did, even though we were the same grade. And when you were pledging the fraternity, I think you were getting close to finishing, Joe, or maybe your Hell Week or something like that, and you had all your stuff in the house, and one of the other brothers was going through all your stuff, throwing it all over the chapter room, and he picked up a trophy and went to throw it through one of the plate glass windows, and you stopped him. You stood in front of the window and stopped it from happening because he was going to shatter the window. It was a huge window. It was like 7 foot tall, and I saw you. We were all standing around surprised at what was happening, but when he started to do that, you were the one to jump in front of it and stop it. And I always thought, wow, I mean, Joe, I didn't know if it was a tough guy move or a stand-up guy move or anything, but it showed to me who you really were. You were going to step in when the time was needed, and it was really, it made me think about you a lot, and I've thought of that scenario many times over the last 25 or so years, and just goes to show who you are. And I wish you the best, and I hope this the kidney situation works out for you. And again, we'll do everything we can for you. But I just wanted to bring that up to you. I don't know if you remember that or not, or Bunta, you ever saw or heard that? But
I don't remember I'll be honest, I don't remember the details of that.
Yeah.
I know the guy you're talking about. That son of a bitch is pretty damn successful right now. And God bless him.
Yeah.
And if anything, that was not a tough guy move. That was definitely me looking out for a friend move. That's more the kind of guy that I am. It's like I'll step in for a buddy. So yeah, we all been there, done that, and stupid things. So.
Yeah.
Right.
That's for sure. So, Bunta, you got anything else, pal?
No, I mean, I'm just, I'm wishing for the best, hoping, everything, falls through, with the kidney and just going back to, the Joe story, right? I mean, just knowing Joe from camp, I mean, that's, 20 some years ago, right? And just tells you the personality he is and what he is back then and what he is today, just knowing Joe. And when we stay connected, either through Facebook or, we met up, we don't see each other too often, but I mean, I just think that, you're just a great person, Joe. I mean, every time I talk to you, it's just, I see you like the same guy you were when we first met and how you are today, So, I just hope like everything, works out, man. That's all. So just hoping for the best.
I appreciate that. I'm not one for compliments, but thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Take it when you can. You're a lineman.
Yeah.
Take it when you can.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We don't get much fame. I still got the newspaper clipping from high school that I was in, the one and only.
Shit, I don't know how many times we would tell something to Vic. Hey, make sure you tell the reporters, all the good blocking that you were getting to throw 5 touchdowns a game. I tell them every week. Yeah, whatever, pal.
Hey, wait a minute. If I remember right, you got a little press for running the ball one time, right? Don't you have 1 yard?
I got
one carry.
I think I'm waiting for Ronnie DiMaria. He has it on video. It was freshman year '90 against Susquehanna in '92. I picked up a fumble on a one of the what was the play, Boonta, the option reverse that used to run.
Yeah,
48 reverse.
Was it? What was it
I
called?
don't know what. I fumbled it. Yeah, it was like we were like on the 2 or 3 yard line. I fumbled it. It was like my eyes were in the end zone, then the ball just like went right through my hands.
Wait, one last.
Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
I got one last quick fumble story for you before we wrap this up. We played, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it was junior year at FDU Madison in the mud?
Sophomore year.
Sophomore year.
Yeah.
Okay, we go up to FDU Madison. The mud was covering our cleats. It was disgusting. It was terrible. They had me playing against an All-American out there at left tackle, making more lookout blocks than you can imagine. I'm screaming, "Look out, Vic, here he comes." And but anyway, that game, Pete fumbled 3 times in 3 quarters. Then I came in and played center, and I fumbled 3 times in 1 quarter.
Well, I talked about this before. That game was the ball was half underwater. I'm not.
It was
That's
disgusting.
not a joke.
Yeah.
That is not a joke. And
the mud was over our cleats.
They would send a guy in every play or two, a clean guy, so we could wipe our hands off.
Yeah.
And we're not moving the ball, and coach decides to start going shotgun. Are you kidding me? You're gonna be kidding me, right? So I'm not. It's not going well. I mean, the ball's coming back with half a pound of mud on it, and I'm not accurate at that point either. And that's the one game where they benched everybody.
Yeah,
pulled everybody out and benched everybody. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I still question the call, but
well, don't worry. I came in and proved your point because I fumbled 3 times. I'll never forget
exactly.
that. Yeah, 3 times in 1 quarter.
That's it. Yeah. Oh shoot, that's funny. Yeah. But yeah. Going back to the Susquehanna one, yeah, I do. I had 1 carry for like 4 yards or something like that, and I remember doing because I played tackle that year, my freshman year, and I had to do like this C block where you had to go back and do a back crack block. Basically, I looked down at the balls at my feet. And holy crap! I pick it up and just start running, and I got tackled at like the 2-yard line. My old man's like, "You should have scored." I'm like, "There were 6 people tackling me. I'm not gonna make it." So I'm waiting. I've been begging Ronnie for that. He's got it on VHS tape.
Yeah,
begging for him to mail it to me, and I don't know what he's doing. So, but as soon as I get that, I'm gonna clip that one piece out and put it on Facebook for everybody.
Yeah, that'll be fun to see. Yeah.
Good man. But brother, it's been great talking to you, man. It's great catching up as always. Great talking to you about these stories. I'm sure you got more. I'm sure we'll talk again, and we'd love to have you back on again for some more stories, in whatever genre we could spell up. But man, it's just it's great talking to you. I know Boonta, speaking for Boonta, we wish you well. We would love to get together, outside of this sometime too.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to find a metal show to go to.
Yeah.
Hey man, Sabracadabra is going to be at the Kung Fu Necktie coming up.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did.
Yeah. Good show. But man, this is great. It's a great experience, and I wish you guys the best of luck with the show.
Yeah.
So we'll get some more guys on for you, and hopefully this thing gets viral.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We're trying. So
cool.
We got to get more people like you on. Great stories, man.
Absolutely.
It's funny once you start talking about them, they just start rolling off the tongue, and it's great. I just for the past hour and a half, I feel like I was 19 years old again, sitting in the cafeteria bullshitting about football practice. So,
yeah, I mean, that's the premise here, man. I mean, we don't want to lose some of these things, to Father Time. I mean, there's so many people that, would like to hear these things and just, just for posterity's sake and just for fun. I mean, we have this medium now, and it's great to be able to do it. And we're going to try to get, some older guys on from Man Love era and, some younger guys on from Swan and even younger now, Coach Kelly's guys. I mean, just, they got all kind of different perspectives and stuff like that. And I'm sure they like to hear, classic stories, because our stories are classic now. And,
they're classics.
Yeah, it's no kidding. Oh my God. But,
speaking of classics, while we're still on air or taping for air, we should put a bug in people's ear that 2019 is going to be the 25th anniversary of the unbeaten team opening Leslie C. Quick Stadium. So should be a little something going on for that.
There should be something going on for that. I think, there is some people that are talking about that. I don't know if anything from a official standpoint, but yeah, there definitely is. There should be something, for the 25th.
Yeah.
I know they haven't done anything, and you know what? And frankly, Joe and Bunta, you know this already, but through the Brotherhood, we could probably pull off whatever we want. We're bringing in money for them, with the donations and the memberships and stuff like that, and the coaches, the programs using the money, they've purchased a lot of stuff that they wouldn't have been able to without those funds. So if we want to do something, and if anybody has an idea, any of the other guys you're talking to, Joe, talking to Bobby and Doug and all those guys, you got an idea, bring it to me especially. Or me and Bunta, because we're getting more and more involved with it. I'm like the treasurer, believe it or not. But I can't balance a checkbook, but that's what I am. But if we want to do something, they're going to let us do it. If we have a date and we can organize it. It's going to happen, and they'll throw weight behind it. Because they know. We're going to participate. We'll put money into it. We'll have a good time with it, and they want you on campus. The point is. Of the Brotherhood, the major point of the Brotherhood is, I know it always goes back to money. At the end of the day, that's the end of that's where everything is built off of. But if we can get people to go to the games and make that the thing to do on a Saturday afternoon in the fall, I know everyone our age has young kids. You especially got real young kids, and you got practice for this and that, and everyone's coaching their baseball and this and whatever else, and soccer and whatever, and that's fine, and everybody understands that. But there's guys that are older than us that aren't there, and there's kids that are younger than us that don't have anything, and they're not going there either. Now, if you went to Penn State, you'd be at Penn State on Saturday. You know what I mean? That's what you do. Now, why aren't we doing that? We have 700 wins and all these other things, and a team that always puts out. So that's the goal. That's what I've always said, and that's why I go to the games and I wear the shirt. So if you want to do something, you have ideas, I'm all ears.
Sounds great.
Yeah, so it's good. All right. Cool.
All
right, guys. Well, look, we'll wrap this up here. And Joe, once again, thank you for your time. Thank you for your great stories, man. We'll definitely have you on again real soon, and we'll keep up this the good stuff here. Right.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It was really great. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
All right, Joe.
Take care, bro.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
Take care.